Welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing some more art, and it is time for some graffiti letters. We're doing a whole alphabet today, colored pencil on sketch paper. And this is the most riveting part of the video, especially because you can't see it. It's the sketch work, the line work at the beginning. I bet if I really took out my little magnifying glass, you'd be able to see these lines, but they're little whispers on the screen for me right now. But you know, you don't want your first lines to be too dark. You're gonna get erased anyway, but I find that if you write with pencil too hard, that doesn't really erase all that good, right? Like that K in the middle there. Gotta do a lot more work to get rid of those lines than like the A or the O, which you can't see. But I decided that I've been having fun just doing physical drawings, and although I love Photoshop and doing digital work, I need to remember how much I like doing it in real life too, with, you know, a little bit more stakes, right? There's no undo button. And I kind of have to make do with mistakes a lot more. So I end up going a lot slower, which is nice, right? But I still ended up doing this whole thing in about 5 hours. So, as you know, as slow as I felt I was going, it wasn't that slow. I was still able to do quite a bit. And now we can finally see the line work coming in. I'm just using those, what are they, fine tip technical markers. I don't remember exactly what they're called. I don't have the super fancy ones. I just get whatever. And then I wanted this to be a simple alphabet with some intersection and overlap. I thought that that would look pretty good. I would say that I'm still not too happy with the way that the E and the F look, but I couldn't come up with anything better, so I left it. Sometimes that's just how it goes. I realized I didn't really leave myself that much room for extra details, and one thing I want to practice in the future is putting more extra bars and extra elements and extra chips and stuff like that in the piece. But sometimes I just like clean letters with not a whole lot of extra. I want to be good at putting all that extra stuff in though, so I gotta practice that probably in the next couple. I keep looking at these pieces that I make, and I keep thinking about all the techniques that I'm not using or that I could be using to add more to the piece. But I also have what I think is like a pretty good sense of feeling when I'm done with the project, right? Like you can always add more. There's always something more that you can put in, but at what point does that kind of just start to be a bit of a waste of time, and when is it, you know, just good enough? So for this project, I was like, okay, we're gonna do some pretty basic solid outlines, have a little bit of fun with the fill in. This will overall be pretty simple, just to kind of get the juices flowing. Now I'd say this is my best alphabet by far. I've only done like 2 or 3. but this one looks the best. I always get a little intimidated by doing a whole alphabet because I'm like, that's a lot of letters. But when you do a regular piece with like 4 or 5 characters or letters, you end up putting like a lot more into each. So with the whole alphabet, you kind of get to flow with whatever style you pick. You flow through, make the whole alphabet that way, and it feels pretty cohesive. And it doesn't take that much longer to do the whole alphabet after you already have the idea of how you want the letters to look in your head. You just follow your own rules that you set for yourself. So I guess one of the ways to say this is that the creative process, where you're actually making decisions and just picking different attributes, is probably the longest part. So like doing the entire alphabet doesn't really add too much time, especially if you have like a solid idea going into it or some solid inspiration. Because I'll sit and I'll sketch for a 5-letter piece for a very, very long time. You know, trying to see what I can do to make it feel more complete. Like, this kind of looks, let's do this, let's do that. And then as soon as I find out what I want the piece to look like, doing that final version, or I guess moving from a rough draft to a final draft, the final draft always takes a lot less time. So I should not, I guess, scare myself with what I perceive to be a monumental set of decisions to make. Because, you know, doing the alphabet, you're like, okay, I have 26 letters to figure out. Not really, right? If you do ABC, then you have intersections, you have curves, you have holes, and all that. So, like, just doing 3 letters dictates a good amount of the style for the whole thing. And you have to do that kind of work regardless of how many letters you put in. So really what I'm doing is talking myself into doing more alphabets because I think they're fun, but it is daunting to start that compared to fewer letters. And then I want all the letters to interact with every other letter. But sometimes I don't know what would be, you know, too much. So sometimes I feel myself cutting some ideas because I'm like, okay, well, this might make it too busy or what have you. You know, plenty of contradicting thoughts like, why don't I put something here? Well, if I put something here, it'll look like this, and that's not what I want. The creative process is probably the most annoying for the brain, right? Because once you do that kind of idea mapping out, then you can sit back and just go through the steps and like listen to a podcast or something and not really have to think so much. The sketching process really does feel kind of like a slog, like you're reaching for something that's not there, like you know, finding inspiration, I guess. Just sometimes you're like, oh, there should be something for me to grab at, but there's not, but I want to make something anyway. So you have to like really sit there and kind of think, what do I want to see right now? How would that look? Does that look good in my head? Because then after that, once the idea is in there and I put something down on the paper, I'm like, okay, this thing on the paper is not even close to what I was thinking of, not even in the ballpark. And then you fix it from there. Like once you have that kind of starting point, you can kind of guide it. But creating it and then putting it down for the first time. Definitely the hardest and most time consuming part. I really like my style of having bright colors with dark, bold outlines. I want to be able to do some where maybe the outline is more subtle or not even there at all, and it looks kind of more realistic. Maybe I'll get into that at some point. But something about that kind of cartoony style, I guess, of the dark outlines, just really, I don't know, endearing to me, I guess. One thing I wish I had a little more creativity in is how I do these fill-in details. I feel like a lot of the time when I do these things, they feel a lot like I've already seen them. But I guess that's the nature of doing something like this, right? Where everything is, you know, every finished product is unique, yeah, but they all have some similar aspects with each other. Because really, like, when you're on a beginner level and you're doing graffiti and you have these like books and images and things that you could look at, you really are just sitting there copying what you see and taking things from people's work already. And I'm still waiting for that transitional emotion that feels like I've really stepped into my own style. Part of me feels like I have my style, and part of me feels like, no, that's still other people's style. I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I would just be curious to know if and when that feeling will ever change. Because I'm not gonna lie, some artists, I think of them and I think of their style immediately. And then there are other ones where I can remember what they've made, but I don't remember what set theirs apart. Like, it was great, but what's their theme throughout? What's their style that they keep through everything? Sometimes I can't tell, but for me, I'd like to at least have some kind of notion that I have a vibe, you know what I mean? And I'm sure I do, and I'm sure that's kind of in my head, because people quote my art style to me all the time. They're like, oh, you like this, you do this, you make this. But it still feels like someone else's to me sometimes. Especially like when I'm doing one of these where it's a graffiti alphabet. Everyone's done a graffiti alphabet. On some level it feels like homework, but on some level I love it, even though it does feel like homework, right? When will the homework feeling end, and when will I be using what I've learned to make my own? My own. I'm sure part of me is just completely off base, and I'm sure that I do have some kind of style and that I'm just being crazy. You know, but where's the fun in art if you're not a little crazy, right? Where's the drive? Anyway, that was the new piece. Thanks for watching, guys. I've got a little advertisement for you, and then I'll show you a nice shot, final drawing. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please come through to my website at www.thick216.com. All my favorite designs are there. Come through to my Instagram where I have all of my published works, only bangers on my Instagram. My Redbubble page features all of my best designs on some wonderful merch. All kinds of clothing, mouse pads, hats, anything you can think of. Shower curtains, stickers, laptop cases, phone cases. Here I am displaying a nice hoodie, classic design, a pillow. Who could do without a pillow? Nobody. Everyone needs a pillow. Very soft. We've also got prints. Any kind of print you could want. Posters, metal prints, framed prints. We've got zipper bags, zipper pouches. Put every pencil, every pen you've ever had in there. Mouse pad, desk pad, game mats. Anything you could think of. I've even got a bath mat and a shower curtain. Also come through to my TikTok, small videos there, and then my YouTube for all my full-length videos, and Fiverr if you want me to make art for you. Thanks again for making it all the way to the end. Here's the nice shot of the final piece going over the whole rainbow alphabet, looking at all those nice little details. Yes, very nice. Thanks again for watching. Come follow through to my YouTube channel. I've got plenty of videos there. I have an Instagram with all kinds of other projects on it. Some things that I don't make into videos make it onto my Instagram. Follow me to my website, www.thick216.com. And while I have you here, that puzzle in the background is a part of a new channel I'm working on with my girlfriend where we do puzzles on TikTok. Look up Thick and Creamy on TikTok to find the puzzle content. Thank you very much. Hope you guys have a great one. Peace.